Alright, welcome everybody. Today I'm going to do a quick video on changing out the connector in a Glock pistol. This is my new Glock Gen 1 17 Classic. Picked this pistol up a couple weeks ago. Shot it for the first time yesterday. And it's like every other Glock. It's fine. I will say that out of all my Glocks, this one seems to have the heaviest trigger pull. I'm kind of looking at, it's just a range gun. I think I was looking at wanting to put a ghost connector in it. I suspected that my P80 had one in it, the Glock P80 I got a few years ago, and I liked the trigger in it, so I took it apart just to verify it had a connector, an aftermarket connector in it, and it did. So I decided to get the same connector that was in it, which was the Ghost 3.5 pound standard trigger, and we're going to do a quick swap out on it. And you have to bear with me, this is only the second time I've broken one of these down in years, so I'm going to go off of memory and what I did last week. The gun is clear, and typical takedown. Typical. Remove the slide, and you have your magazine removed. And I'll do my best to get the best lighting possible on this when I do this. I can't guarantee how good it's going to be, but anyway, the connector's in the trigger housing, which is back here. There's two parts that we're going to pull this pin and this pin, and the trigger housing and connector and trigger bar and everything will come out all together, hopefully. So anyway, got my handy dandy little Glock tool here, and I didn't watch any tutorials or anything, so if I don't have this right, forgive me, but this will work. So we're going to do it. So first off, I'm going to drive this pin out. I don't think it matters which way. So I'm going to take, it's just a plastic pin, you just push on it, it starts to come out the other side, and remove it, set it aside. And then this pin here, doesn't take much effort, but you have to mess with the slide stop to get the holes all to line up, and it should, if you can get it lined up properly, it should come out pretty easily, which it just did. Pull that pin out, set it off to the side. Now we're going to pull the slide stop out. So we're just going to pull it straight out to the rear like that. Set it off to the side. And then I'm going to call this the locking block or whatever. I usually just take a little tool like this. And it comes out pretty easily, just like that. Set it off to the side. Now, everything, you should have the trigger housing should come up along with your trigger. Just pull it straight up out of the gun like that. Set your frame off to the side. And this is the trigger housing, trigger bar, and this is your connector right here. This is what we're going to replace. So if I remember this correctly, we're going to pull forward on the trigger bar, twist it, and then it pulls out. And then we're going to disconnect the spring from the trigger bar, which is easier said than done with my old eyes, but it will come off. Try not to bend anything. Got to see the gap there. Okay. I know there is a trick to this. You know what? We're just going to leave that connected because I'm telling you the rest of this is pretty easy. So this is the connector, and from what I know it's just pressure fit in there. And we're going to, see, I got a little flat blade screwdriver. I'm going to come in right here and kind of twist a little bit and pull that up. And that's what we're replacing right there, the connector. And that's a standard Glock connector that comes in a new Gen 3 Glock or whatever, Gen 4 Glock, I guess. Whatever they're putting in the Glock 17 Classics. And we're going to replace it with the standard 3.5 pound connector. I believe these, I don't think Glock specifies poundages anymore, but I believe these are supposed to be about 5.5. We're going to replace it with a 3.5. And I'm going to take this connector out and put the factory connector in the box. The ghost connector is labeled. It has their address and everything on it. Alright, then we got the new ghost connector, which has the, kind of hard to tell, sorry about the lighting there. It has the ghostinc.com. We're going to take this and we are going to slide it in where the old connector was. Make sure you push it all the way in to where it's in there real good. Then we're going to take the trigger mechanism and put it back together like so. And then we're going to bring our frame back. And we're going to start pushing the parts back into the frame like so. And I am not sure if this needs to be lubricated. We're going to leave it unlubricated for right now. This is such an easy procedure. If I find out it needs to be lubricated, I'll post it in the comments. And I'll come back and lubricate it later. Then we're going to push everything back seated down in there. And I'm going to take the locking block and push the locking block back into the frame. Then I'm going to take my slide stop, slide release, whatever you care to call it, slide it back into position, make sure the holes are lined up there. Then I'm going to take my trigger pin, slide it in by hand, kind of jiggle things around with that slide stop, because you got to get those holes lined up before the pin will go all the way through. Sometimes it goes in real easy, other times not so much. There we go. Got it in. We're just going to push it all the way, and then to get it seat flush, we're not quite all the way through. I think we probably still need to move this slide stop around a little bit. There we go. So what you're looking for is the same distance in on both sides. Know you're centered, which we are. And that locks in your locking block and your trigger and your slide stop. And then your trigger housing pin goes back in. Make sure it's seated properly. I usually take it, put it on a counter, kind of push it onto the counter there a little bit, get it started, and then center it. Take my Glock tool, put it on there, try to get it as centered as possible in the frame, where it's equal distance on both sides. And then reassembly. Put your slide back on. And then, like I said, gun's empty. Want to touch the trigger. Oh yeah, it does feel, I mean, it's not night and day different, but it is a little bit lighter, which is what I wanted. Yeah, and it probably takes a little bit of breaking in to get it smooth. It does have a little bit, the take up is a little bit more, I don't know how to say it. There's a little hitch in it, which I'm sure maybe with some lubrication, maybe we can fix that. Or maybe just a little break-in. But the actual brake itself is nicer than it was. There's your reset. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you got any questions, please don't be afraid to post. Comments, did I do something wrong? Let me know. Have a good one.